What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome. I'm back. I'm going to go ahead and stream this Trump tariff speech. Should be coming up here in, I don't know, 25 to 30 minutes. I figured I'd go live, and I finished a bunch of stuff that I wanted to get done real quick, and here I am. So yeah, that's basically what I'm doing. I covered a lot of stuff this morning or this afternoon already as far as it relates to crypto, but I think that these tariffs are, honestly, I'm expecting a dump, because every time Trump says anything, the markets dump. And you know, maybe they dump now and then they reverse and come back on Friday if Jerome Powell has anything positive to say. But you know, a lot of people have been basically saying, like, don't get your hopes up. You know, it's probably, the market's probably going to come down even further. We got a little bit of a rally. I know it's not really a rally, but a little bit of a pump to the upside to give people hope. And you know, I don't have a lot of hope yet. I don't think we're there, but we'll see. I'm doubting it though. And I had a ticker, but yeah, like I always try to be realistic about things. Like you know, this market cycle is so weird, but I mean, what would we expect, really? I mean, with so much stuff changing right now, it only makes sense that everything's a little bit discombobulated, because we're realigning everything. I mean, we're really changing the way all things work, and we're starting it with the first bricks in the wall. So you know, we'll see. She should not be able to speak anywhere. Yeah, you're talking about this woman. Yeah, I just, everyone has their role, man. You know, I really wish we had term limits. You know, the argument to term limits, though, she has nothing to do with term limits. I feel like she might have just started like a couple days ago and started insulting people. I don't know much about her, but like Rankin, it was a Senator Rankin or whatever. You know, I mean, that guy, every time I see him speak, I cringe, because I'm like, this guy is so out to lunch. And a lot of them, you know, I mean, Senator Warren, every time she talks, it's like the same script. You know, she acts all animated and rah, but really she's just, you know, it's like everything she touches is it's got a funk to it. And I just, you know, man, what are you going to do? I don't know. I honestly, I just wish, I hope this market just gets to where we all expect it to be. And I just want to check out of all of it for a while, man. I want to check out of everything. I don't want to see anything about crypto or politics or anything. But at the same time, that's how stuff happens. You know, it's when you're not paying attention. And I ultimately, I feel like that's the idea, man. They want to burn everybody out. They want to burn us all out so that we don't care anymore. And we're like, oh, hell with it. Let somebody else deal with it. It's really not my way. So as much as I say I'd love to be able to do that, it's probably not going to happen. But, you know, Trump is out to lunch. Cool. We've got the, you know, whatever, man. I mean, if that's what you think, cool. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, Crypto Princess. How are you, hon? Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. It is stimulation overload. Yeah, I mean, everywhere you look, there's a crazy person with something to say, but they don't really know what they're talking about. They just saw something somewhere, or their friend that they like a lot thinks some way, and he's like, "Yeah, I agree with that," even though neither of them really know what they're talking about. To be real honest, you want to know what I think about politics? I think that what we know as a society overall is only what we're supposed to know, period. I think there are so many underlining layers that are not public knowledge that it's impossible to really know the truth or know where to hang your hat, because everything's garbage. I mean, everything is trash. But yeah, I'm with you, Crow. I'd like to check out for a bit once the cycle is over as well. The cycle has been absolutely brutal. It has been. This has been probably the most brutal crypto cycle ever, man. I mean, because if you think back, even back in 2009, all those early adopters, I mean, they didn't know what they had. So like there was no stress there. It was just life as usual. But for a lot of us, I mean, we're really invested. We're really like, we're dependent on this market cycle going as planned. And, you know, I guess the question is what would be different had somebody else won the election? Would we be better off or not? It's really too soon to tell. I mean, let's be real about it. It's barely been 100 days. Like it's too soon to tell. And like, you know, of course we all want to say, oh, look at everything's crashing, everything's coming down. But that's what would happen anytime you're trying to restructure, rebuild, clean house. You know, it's like, even if I were to come into my office and I'm like, man, I really got to clean this office today. Everything looks more disarrayed than it was when I walked in for a little while because I'm just organizing. Well, okay, I want to put this here. This needs to go there. And I've got things piled. I've got, you know what I mean? I mean, it's just the nature of anything you're trying to clean up or reestablish. So it is what it is. But yeah, Willy Wonka Crow, is this so far the crappiest bull cycle? Yeah, it definitely is. This one sucks. It sucks. Crow, what does your t-shirt say? Oh, Mighty Mix boxing gym. I've never been there. It's just a t-shirt. I don't even remember where I got this. If we don't start to seriously pump by July, do you sell? Listen, here's the one thing that I hold on to every day. Every day I look at the charts, I look at things and things are red and things look like they're taking a little longer. I go back to my videos when I was talking about how I thought whether it's this cycle or the next one, we're going to reach a point where we no longer have the peaks and valleys that we're used to. Okay. And, you know, people would call it a super cycle or whatever. I don't know if that's this cycle. I expect to see things really take off into new all-time highs between now and October. Maybe it happens sooner. You know, I was pointing at a May cycle peak like a while back. Maybe that's still the case. I really need to look at that again. And you know, I have to go over the numbers and everything over and over to remind myself. Maybe I'll do a video about it this week or next. But I believe wholeheartedly, no matter what happens today, this week, this weekend, that May is going to be mind-blowing. I really do. I think there's just so much lining up, whether it's regulation, everything happening with Cardano, Bitcoin OS, and all of that stuff, midnight. You know, there's so much stuff coming and happening that is going to bring a lot of people together. And, you know, the question is does it last? And how long does that last? And so the one thing that I think about all the time is there's no way, maybe I'm wrong, I'm always right sometimes, but I can't see a way that all of these institutions, politicians, all of these major, I mean, think of the sacrifice so many of these guys are making that are joining Trump's cabinet and trying to make a dramatic change. You know, everything Elon's done, all of these guys that are, you know, exiting their crypto positions so that there's no conflict of interest. And then they're joining the mission. Right. And I'm like, why would all of these people be doing that if they didn't know that bigger things are coming? And that if we only get XYZ done, these I's dotted, these T's crossed, that we're going to be in a much better position to do much, much better. So I believe that, you know, no, we haven't peaked. It's not over. I think that there's just a lot happening. And, you know, I'm just paying attention every day, man. Every day I wake up, I have my coffee or my tea, and I watch a little of everything on YouTube. I get a little idea as to what's going on for the day, and then I get to work. And while I'm working, I'm listening to other things. I'm scrolling through Twitter, looking at the latest updates on different things. And just kind of trying to stay abreast. And if I see something, I'm like, I don't know. And then I'll go cross-reference it. I'll do a little searching, hoping and praying it doesn't lead me down a rabbit hole that sucks up 3 hours because I've got other stuff to do. So all-time high by May with ADA? No, I honestly expect the market itself to peak sometime in October, and then the altcoin blow off top to happen between 30 to 90 days after that. That's what I think. But that changes, you know what I mean? Because the way things change, ebb and flow in the market cycle overall, and like the way the momentum changes, it's even that's up in the air, man. Like if we're just basing everything strictly on time frame, having to peak to peak, all that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, we have a kind of a framework for what we know to look for, but ultimately we don't know for sure. I mean, anything could happen. What if we don't get a peak at all? What if everything is just an 80% pump and a 30% drop, 80% pump, 30% drop, I mean, that could continue going on for a decade from here. And I think that's ultimately the question right now. Is that what we are to expect? What if the way that this market cycle has been structured and the way everything is playing out gives false positives on a whole bunch of peak indicators at $120,000? Do we believe that, or do we hold through expecting things to be bigger? What if every few months looks the same way the two market peak did in 2021? There are just so many different variables to what's happening right now, and nothing is certain. That's why I've got my super long-term bags that I don't touch, and then I've got everything else that I'm going to try and play with the market. I mean, I have kind of an exit where I want things to be before I start exiting out. And if we reach that point, I'm going to start slowly averaging out no matter what happens or no matter where we're at in the market cycle, because I just don't know. And I got bills to pay. I got to live. So that's kind of where I'm at. We need to wait. M2 money supply needs to kick in. May day money. Yeah. I'm telling you, man, I've looked at so many different things and everything is pointing to May. Everything is pointing to May. So I'm just trying to be patient. Oh, it looks like Cardano's going back up. Bitcoin's coming back up. Everything's going up a little bit. But I'm not convinced of anything yet until we break certain points of resistance and we hold above that. I will tell you though, this course that I'm working on right now, I just outlined all of it, and I've got 30 lectures planned. So I'm like, my only hope is I hope everybody signs up for it and joins it when it's done, and like sends it to friends and things, because this is gonna be off the hook. What if? Exactly. Everything's a what if. Nobody knows for sure. We can all speculate. You are the only one on this right now. Is you, Crow? On what? What do you mean? You mean waiting for the Trump tariff thing? Well, I know it's supposed to happen at 4 p.m. So, and like, it's supposed to start in like 13 minutes. I'm pretty sure the cycle thing is in the past. We're going to find out, aren't we? We're going to find out. Wall Street typically sells in May, though. Yeah, I know. Sell in May, go away. But, maybe May is the peak. Maybe May is the second to a third peak. There's a lot. There's actually stuff I still need to look at. I haven't looked at yet. Crow, what happened about that South American venture coin that did so well with returns many months back? South American venture coin. Are you talking about what was that called? I think I know what you're talking about. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it started with a V. I looked at it a while back. It was still just kind of hanging stagnant, and I haven't looked at it since. I don't think anything is performing right now until things really start kicking off. Gosh, I think for whatever reason, it just totally skipped my noggin. No, not Libra. I think he's talking about the Ethereum based one. Veracity. I still have shit locked up into it, honestly, but I can't remember now. I can't believe I forgot the name of it. No, it's not Libra. Dang snowstorm here. Glad you're live, so I have something to watch. Minnesota is so common for snowstorms up north where I live in Duluth. Oh wow. Minnesota, I think that's where the last season 11 Love is Blind was done. And Validity, it might be Validity. I think that's what you're talking about. Yeah, I mean nothing's going anywhere really right now unless it's some like shit meme coin that's being artificially pumped so that they can rug people. So I'm just waiting patiently. Wisconsin voter ID passed today. Yeah, I saw that. I think it's interesting how voter ID passed, but then someone that's adamantly against all of that won. Or like the Supreme Court judge for the state or something like that. All I know is we need voter IDs like yesterday. I mean, yeah, we need voter IDs yesterday. And here's the thing, man, if we have voter IDs and it's not being messed with and it's transparent and, you know, the left or right wins elections, well, nobody can say anything. The will of the people is the will of the people. But the fact that so many games are being played in elections still, it's pretty disgusting. And like the nature of our elections right now are a complete and utter joke. So 801 Utah in the crow's nest. What's going on in Wolfie? The incoming SEC commissioner, Paul Atkins, is huge in the crypto and holds a large position in ADA. I'd say this increases the chances of the ETF being approved. This thing will go to Pluto if approved. I mean, probably. Crow, we need your expertise. Go make a video. I mean, I did a video already today. This morning, I went live for like 45 minutes, covered a lot of different stuff. Can ADA fix future elections? Absolutely. It's a part of what it was designed to be able to do, along with digital IDs. I'm just waiting when we can vote using the blockchain. I mean, at some point, everybody's going to have an app on their phone. I wrote a proposal a long time ago. I think I've talked to you guys about it, where I wanted to create a system that, you know, anytime there's a new bill or like, we need to get rid of these career politicians, period. And rather than have like a technocracy type deal where we just like appoint like 7 or 8 of the biggest names and whatever and let them decide everything for us, which would be a huge disaster. I think everybody has a phone. Even immigrants are given a phone. I mean, everybody has a phone. So there's no excuse for people to not be able to vote using a digital ID associated with their identification, who they are. You can use zero knowledge proofs or something. You can use midnight so that, you know, you're able to vote, prove who you are, prove the details that are relevant to you as an individual. And then anytime there's a new bill, we put a limit. Like any new bill is like 2 pages long or no longer than 5 pages, not these 5,000 page things you have to bring in a wheelbarrow at 3 a.m. in the morning and the voting is 6 hours later. That I mean, everything is such a game, man. It's all such a joke. It's like not even real. And then everybody is incentivized. What, you know, if we're talking about, you know, like universal income, why don't we make universal income a part of voting? How about we incentivize people to vote on every bill, everything that is trying to be passed or done, whether it's, you know, city, state, federal? Like, why aren't we just incentivized to take more of an active approach to our politics rather than electing like crooked ass people who, you know, are just doing all sorts of things to benefit themselves at the expense of the public? Why don't we just give those benefits to the public? You know, like our system is old. Our system is as old as the SEC securities regulations from 1933. Everything needs a facelift. We're in a modern time. We're in a digital age where everything is practically instant. We're going to have AI operating, maintaining, running, and regulating just about everything we all touch, because it's all going to be digital. So it's all effectively going to go through the eyes and hands of AI agents all over the place. You know, there aren't going to be any secrets. So it's just like, what do we even need these politicians for when the public is completely capable of deciding inch by inch how far we go in any given direction? And let the people have their voice. Because right now, I don't believe the people have a voice. I know that Trump won and all that stuff. And, you know, it was a big mandate and a landslide and all that. I get all of that. But that system is still bullshit, in my opinion. It's too easy to fudge with elections today. And that needs to stop. Period. End of story. Crow, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that. I'm not sure what you mean. Not sure what you're talking about. Crow, when are you going to do the Trivago? It's not, is it Trivago, or I thought it was called something else? Travala.com, travel agency video on how to buy with ADA token. I will, but I mean, I want to actually do it. I don't want to just like demo it, but I need to have a place to go, and I'm not going no damn where until probably, I don't know, October maybe. So yeah, I'm not moving a muscle. I'm not going anywhere. I'm definitely for direct democracy, like voting, referendums, etc. Yeah, man, there's no reason why we aren't doing that yet. Why would I want to fry cook voting on energy policy? I mean, I guess that's a good question, but if you don't, I mean, it's the same way with Cardano governance, right? If rather than voting on something you don't know about or don't understand, you just click abstain from that vote and let other people vote on it. I mean, that's the way I see it. I still think we need something called a block party rather than like the Democrats versus Republicans and libertarians and independents. We just need a block party. Everybody that wants to cast their votes through blockchain with transparency, digital identity, and we do it all on the Cardano blockchain with zero knowledge proofs and midnight. That's what we need. Period. End of story. That's how a lot of this stuff needs to work out. And then we need to be incentivized to cast our votes on things. And it's just like, you know, on certification courses, right? It's like your NMLS exams or your real estate exams or all of that. You have to go through, you have to read all this stuff, and it's all timed, and, you know, you have to spend so much time on these pages, and it's like an investment, and it's almost like showing your work. And I think we need to do that with different bills and just whatever we're trying to pass through to law. I think the public needs to be able to vote on it first. That's it. I'm tired of these degenerates speaking for me on either side. I'm tired of these degenerates speaking for me. And when you know your system for voting is flawed, you know that you're not always voting these people into office that are speaking for you. I'm sorry, but that's just the truth as I see it. It's my humble old ass fat man's opinion, but that's the way I see it. Yes, you caught me live, Darko. What's going on, man? You are already incentivized to vote. It's called a right to vote. Nope, not enough. Sorry, not enough. Not enough anymore, because there's too much weird shit that happens with these elections, and it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're talking about. There's too much stuff that's happening with these voting machines, these voting booths. You know, having the right to vote alone is not enough if you're not 100% sure that your voting counts, because there's a lack of transparency in everything. That's not enough. Sorry. Yeah. Because all Americans have a voice in how this country runs. It's just better ideas need to conquer. I'm not sure what that meant, but yeah, I'm just fed up, man. I'm just fed up with all of it. Weird LOL with absolutely no proof. I don't get the comment. Yeah, I'm on 3 different platforms right now, so I'm showing 1,128 viewers. Smash the likes if you don't mind. Both public stand Elon will depart from public services special. Oh, when it's complete. I see. Gotcha. Crow, I really think we are following the 2017 cycle. And Bitcoin will peak in December 25 and the altcoins January of 2026. Maybe. I know a lot of people are starting to try and compare it to the 2017 cycle, but I still don't think, oh, wow. Cardano's trying to get to 69 cents and moving. Maybe I'll put this on a 5-minute candle. That on a 5-minute chart there. I just like watching the candles move sometimes. We're going to put Bitcoin on a 5-minute candle there. I mean, we're getting a nice little 5-minute candle spike, so people are getting ready for something. 69 cents on Cardano right now and moving. There's some hesitancy. Oh, now it's turning around. So stupid. Buy ADA before May 1st. Closing bell. 4 p.m. exactly. I see. Soon, President Trump announces the new tariffs. I'm very curious to see what he has to say. Not gonna lie, I'm very curious, and I'm curious to see how the crypto markets react. I feel like we had this little bit of a rally. Let's see, where were we? Where was the bottom of it? 67 cents. Down here, 66. So we went from 66 cents. Yeah, 60 cents looks like, damn. So March 31st, we came all the way down to about 63 cents. Now we're at 69 cents. Yeah, I mean, that's not very big movement. And the thing is, the reason why I'm expecting a dump is because, especially Cardano, when Cardano moves, it doesn't take any prisoners. It owns the market. And sometimes, let's see what's happening.
To us. They will be kinder.
And Trump's.
Oh, I thought I saw that before. Yeah, and like typically when anything really moves, it takes off. It's like 5%, 10% at a time. It's not inchworming up and down and all this indecision. That's not really how. It's really not how Cardano moves for the most part. The only time Cardano moves like that is traders trading. That's it. It's not necessarily like a big pump to a new all-time high or anything. Typically that stuff happens very, very quickly. Stay cool, Crow. It's all a waiting game. Oh, trust me, I'm staying cool. As a matter of fact, I just had my AC fixed. That's why I'm still able to sit up here, because otherwise I'd be covered in sweat after 40 minutes and I'd have to get out of here. But my computer pumps out so much heat that it's like, my goodness. But it's all nice now. So I'm back to work finally. I've been basically down. I haven't done much of anything like real work related in several days. It's been too hot. I'm expecting him to say nothing new and repeat everything he has said before, and we get a dump. I'm not going to lie, that's possible. I mean, he's calling this Liberation Day, but I mean, like, who's being liberated from what? Are we being liberated from more profitability? Are the crooks being liberated of their freedom? Like, what's being liberated exactly? That's what I'm waiting to find out. Oh, crow knee. If we wait longer, we might get crow ankle. Oh yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that. Yeah, my big old knee in the way. I like to get comfortable sometimes in this giant chair. $32 degrees outside of Minnesota. Wow. Oh, I love this guy.
See what Putin's doing? He's not serious here. I would take that back. I would firmly suggest to President Putin, if you want peace, stop treating President Trump and the American people like a bunch of chumps. Stop it. If you want respect, act respectfully. If you want to be taken seriously, act seriously. Because his conduct toward President Trump's hand of peace has been despicable. It would gag a maggot.
That's what I was waiting for. He's always got something.
Subject.
He's always got something like that to say. He'd gag a maggot. I mean, this dude is just a trip, but this isn't what we're here for, so I'm not going to play his whole thing. I don't even know what all he's talking about, but I just, every time I see him, he's got some quip like that. I bust out laughing. Cardano's back down to 68 cents. And it's working. I just really want Cardano to get back above $1 and stay there, for God's sakes. This is all so stupid. Like, we are so much lower than we should be at this point in the cycle. I'll say that. But imagine what's going to happen when things do turn around and the rally really begins. We're not going to have to wonder. I'm telling you right now, when this thing all turns around, we're not going to have to be sitting around asking questions. We're going to know. Like, it's like the second coming of Christ. If it happens, everyone's going to know it's happening. We're not going to have to ask about it. Kennedy is the man. Yeah, I mean, this dude, I love him. I absolutely love him. You're the man, dude. Thank you for everything you do. Much appreciated. That's it. Let's go, Ada and crypto all together. Yeah, thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. And yeah, it's gonna be hairy. I'm not expecting anything crazy. Love or hate him, you have to commend Cory Booker for standing there for over a day. I'm not even familiar with that. What happened that he stood? Who's Cory Booker and why did he stand somewhere for a day? When Ada moves, it will fly faster than a rocket. Yeah, it will. I mean, it's people. I anticipate waking up one day and then just seeing Cardano at like $1.50 and like, what the hell just happened? Like, that's typically the way it goes. Very true, Crow. You'll never see Cardano at these prices again. We'll see. But, the way we've been just consolidating and trading around this 60 something cent range, I'm going to hazard a guess that when we do finally peak out, that this range becomes the bottom, somewhere between 60 and 70 cents. Because that's just, there's so much being established right now. What's happening?
Now, though, we do have President Donald Trump walking up to the podium as he is going to make this announcement about tariffs. Let's pop up the audio here and listen in to his comments.
Here we go.
Oh, no, I got this.
Can everybody hear okay?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Nice crowd. What a good-looking group of people. Well, we have some very, very today, and a lot of good things are happening for our country. Please sit down. My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day.
We'll see.
Waiting for a long time. April 2nd, 2025 will forever be remembered as the day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed, and the day that we began to make America wealthy again. Going to make it wealthy, good and wealthy. For decades, our country has been looted, pillaged, raped, and plundered by nations near and far, both friend and foe alike. American steel workers, auto workers, farmers, and skilled craftsmen, we have a lot of them here with us today. They really suffered gravely. They watched in anguish as foreign leaders have stolen our jobs, foreign cheaters have ransacked our factories, and foreign scavengers have torn apart our once beautiful American dream. We had an American dream that you don't hear so much about. You did 4 years ago, and you are now, but you don't too often, and for many years and decades even, you didn't hear too much about. Our country and its taxpayers have been ripped off for more than 50 years. but it is not going to happen anymore. It's not going to happen. In a few moments, I will sign a historic executive order instituting reciprocal tariffs on countries throughout the world. Reciprocal, that means they do it to us and we do it to them. Very simple. Can't get any simpler than that. This is one of the most important days, in my opinion, in American history. It's our declaration of economic independence. For years, hardworking American citizens were forced to sit on the sidelines as other nations got rich and powerful, much of it at our expense. But now it's our turn to prosper, and in so doing, use trillions and trillions of dollars to reduce our taxes and pay down our national debt, and it'll all happen very quickly. With today's action, we are finally going to be able to make America great again, greater than ever before. Jobs and factories will come roaring back into our country, and you see it happening already. We will supercharge our domestic industrial base. We will pry open foreign markets and break down foreign trade barriers. And ultimately, more production at home will mean stronger competition and lower prices for consumers. This will be indeed the golden age of America. It's coming back, and we're going to come back very strongly.
I can't help but feel this price action is orchestrated.
We're pleased to be joined on this momentous occasion by Vice President J.D. Vance. J.D., thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Where are you, J.D.? No, that wasn't too hard to find. I was looking, you know, he likes to take a low-key attitude, so usually we sit right in front. He's gaining a lot of confidence, Mike, isn't it? And nearly my entire cabinet is here, as well as Speaker Mike Johnson, who's done an amazing job. And with the great success we had last night in Florida, we have a majority of 7. And 7's like a lot when we had it at 1, right? You've done a fantastic job. And many of the members of the House and Senate are with us. Senators, congressmen, thank you all for being with us. We appreciate it. For decades, the United States slashed our trade barriers on other countries, while those nations placed massive tariffs on our products and created outrageous non-monetary barriers to decimate our industries. And in many cases, the non-monetary barriers were worse than the monetary ones. They manipulated their currencies, subsidized their exports, stole our intellectual property, imposed exorbitant VAT taxes to disadvantage our products, adopted unfair rules and technical standards, and created filthy pollution havens. They were absolutely filthy, but they always came to us and they said, we're violating, we should pay for it. It's all detailed in a very big report by the U.S. Trade Representative on foreign trade barriers, and I'll just hold it up for you. It's available, and you don't have to pay too much. As I understand it, you'll pay nothing. It's a lot of work for something, actually, because it's a special book. It's frankly, it's very upsetting when you read it, when you see what people have been doing to us for 30 years. This all happened with no response from the United States of America, none whatsoever. But those days are over. Let me offer just a few examples of the vicious attacks our workers have faced for so many years. The United States charges other countries only a 2.4 tariff on motorcycles. Meanwhile, Thailand and others are charging much higher prices, like 60%. India charges 70%. Vietnam charges 75%, and others are even higher than that. Likewise, until today, the United States has for decades charged a 2.5 tariff. Think of that, 2.5% on foreign-made automobiles. The European Union charges us more than 10% tariffs, and they have 20% VATs, much, much higher. India charges 70%, and perhaps worst of all are the non-monetary restrictions imposed by South Korea, Japan, and very many other nations. As a result of these colossal trade barriers. 81% of the cars in South Korea are made in South Korea. 94% of the cars in Japan are made in Japan. Toyota sells 1 million foreign-made automobiles into the United States, and General Motors sells almost none.
Everything's pumping right now.
Ford sells very little. None of our companies are allowed to go into other countries. And I say that, friend and foe. And in many cases, the friend is worse than the foe.
What the hell is going on?
But such horrendous imbalances have devastated our industrial base and put our national security at risk. I don't blame these other countries at all for this calamity. I blame former presidents and past leaders who weren't doing their job. They let it happen. And they let it happen to an extent that nobody can even believe. That's why, effective at midnight,
tariffs,
we will impose a 25% tariff on all foreign-made automobiles. Thank you. Brian, I'd like to have you come up here for a second, okay? I just see him sitting. He's been a fan of ours, and he understands this business a lot better than the economists, a lot better than anybody. Brian, say a few words, please, would you?
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. It's a great honor to have you. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. President. I grew up just north of Detroit, Michigan, in Macomb County, known as the home of the Reagan Democrats. My first vote for president was for Ronald Reagan. I thought that was going to be the best president I ever saw in my lifetime until Donald J. Trump came along. I have watched my entire life, I have watched plant after plant after plant in Detroit and in the Metro Detroit area close. There are now plants sitting idle. There are now plants that are underutilized, and Donald Trump's policies are going to bring product back into those underutilized plants. There's going to be new investment. There's going to be new plants built. And the UAW members, and I brought 20 of them with me, they're sitting right over here. We support Donald Trump's policies on tariffs 100%. So, Mr. President, we can't thank you enough. And in 6 months or a year, we're going to begin to see the benefits. I can't wait to see what's happening 3 or 4 years down the road. Thank you, Mr. President.
What a great guy. He got it right from the beginning. He got it before almost anybody else.
88,000 on Bitcoin right now and pumping.
And you know, we won the state of Michigan. We won almost all of them, but we won Michigan by a lot. And I want to just thank you all. The auto workers were fantastic. The Teamsters were fantastic.
Cardano broke 70 cents.
Pretty good, I will tell you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. You're going to be very happy very soon. You probably see what's happening with all of the, not only car companies, but car companies in particular. See it with all of the ones they're moving, they're announcing day in, day out. You're seeing it. Nobody's ever seen anything like that. With today's actions, we're also standing up for our great farmers and ranchers who are brutalized by nations all over the world. Brutalized. Canada, by the way, imposes a 250 to 300% tariff on many of our dairy products. They do the first can of milk. They do the first little carton of milk at a very low price, but after that it gets bad, and then it gets up to 275,
I've noticed 300%. Since the pump started,
so when they're figuring what's Canada charging, they say, oh,
I don't know if
about
there's
2%,
something to
3%.
that, but that's interesting.
But take a look at what happens down the road. When you look a little bit, it's not a pretty picture, and we don't like it, and it's not fair. It's not fair to our farmers. It's not fair to our country. And with countries like Canada, you know, we subsidize a lot of countries and keep them going and keep them in business. In the case of Mexico, it's $300 billion a year. In the case of Canada, it's close to $200 billion a year. And I say, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? I mean, at what point do we say you got to
refresh on your browser,
and
James?
This is why we have the big deficits. This is why we have that amount of debt that's been placed on our heads over the last number of years, and we're really not taking it anymore. Through non-tariff barriers, the European Union bans imports of most American poultry. You understand? They say, we want to send you our cars, we want to send you everything, but we're not going to take anything that you have. Australia bans, and they're wonderful people and wonderful everything, but they ban American beef, yet we imported $3 billion of Australian beef from them just last year alone. They won't take any of our beef. They don't want it because they don't want it to affect their farmers. And you know what? I don't blame them, but we're doing the same thing right now, starting about midnight tonight, I would say. And China charges American rice farmers an overquota, it's called, a tariff rate of 65%. South Korea charges 50%. Actually, they charge different, from 50% to 513%. And Japan, our friend, charges us 700%. But that's because they don't want us selling rice, another thing. Who can blame them, Madam Secretary? Agriculture, great job you did on eggs, by the way. The egg prices came down 50%. You got them down 50%. Once we got involved, they were going through the sky. The egg prices, they were going through the sky, and you did a fantastic job. Now we have lots of eggs, and they're much cheaper, down about 59% now, and they're going down further. We charge 2.8% for so many things that other countries are charging 200%, 300%, and 400% for. If imposing tariffs and protective barriers made nations poor, then every country on earth would be racing to eliminate these policies, and China would be the first on line. They run a very strong country, but they're not first in line, and the American people are paying a very big price. From 1789 to 1913, we were a tariff-backed nation, and the United States was proportionately the wealthiest it has ever been. So wealthy, in fact, that in the 1880s, they established a commission to decide what they were going to do with the vast sums of money they were collecting. We were collecting so much money so fast, we didn't know what to do with it. Isn't that a nice problem to have? What do you think, Marco? Good problem? Marco would love that problem. But we don't have that problem anymore, but we're not going to have it very much longer, I will tell you. But they collected so much money, they actually formed a commission to determine what they were going to do with the money, who they were going to give it to, and how much. Then in 1913, for reasons unknown to mankind, they established the income tax so that citizens, rather than foreign countries, would start paying the money necessary to run our government. Then in 1929, it all came to a very abrupt end with the Great Depression, and it would have never happened if they had stayed with the tariff policy. It would have been a much different story. They tried to bring back tariffs to save our country, but it was gone. It was gone. It was too late. Nothing could have been done. It took years and years to get out of that depression, far longer than even FDR had that office right over there for a long period of time. The ramp system, that's rather intricate, was built because of him, and every time you walk up, you think of him, and he did a great job in many ways, but it lasted long beyond his terms, as you know. But it's not too late any longer, and we're going to start being smart, and we're going to start being very wealthy again. We're going to be wealthy as a country because they've taken so much of our wealth away from us. We're not going to let that happen. We truly can be very wealthy. We can be so much wealthier than any country. It's not even believable, but we're getting smart. Nearly a century later, in the face of unrelenting economic warfare, the United States can no longer continue with a policy of unilateral economic surrender. We cannot pay the deficits of Canada, Mexico, and so many other countries. We used to do it. We can't do it anymore. We take care of countries all over the world. We pay for their military. We pay for everything they have to pay, and then when you want to cut back a little bit, they get upset that you're not taking care of them any longer. But we have to take care of our people, and we're going to take care of our people first, and I'm sorry to say that. And today we're standing up for the American worker, and we are finally putting America first. In Sleepy Joe Biden's last year in office, the United States hemorrhaged 100,000 manufacturing jobs, and the number was going through the roof at levels never seen before. And our trade deficit reached a record $1.2 trillion, which is unheard of. Since the beginning of NAFTA, the worst trade deal ever made. It was a horror show. I was able to terminate it. They all said you'd never be able to get it out. We had to get approval from Congress to get it terminated. We had to live with that deal. It was the worst trade deal ever made by far. But since the very beginning of NAFTA, our country lost 90,000 factories. Think of what that is, 90,000. Think about putting a map up and putting text on it. You wouldn't have enough room. 90,000. I said, is that possible? We had it checked 4 different times, and it was actually somewhat higher than that. And 5 million manufacturing jobs were lost while racking up trade deficits of $19 trillion. That was the worst trade deal ever made. As a result of these gigantic losses, foreign nations now own $26 trillion more of American assets than think of this, than the Americans own of their own foreign assets or other foreign assets. The United States can no longer produce enough antibiotics to treat our sick. We have a tremendous problem. We have to go to foreign countries to treat our sick. If anything ever happened from a war standpoint, we wouldn't be able to do it. We import virtually all of our computers, phones, televisions, and electronics. We used to dominate the field, and now we import it all from different countries. A single shipyard in China now produces more ships every year than all of the American shipyards combined. Think of that. And it was a business that we used to dominate. We used to dominate it totally. In short, chronic trade deficits are no longer merely an economic problem. They're a national emergency that threatens our security and our very way of life. It's a very great threat to our country. And for these reasons, starting tomorrow, the United States will implement reciprocal tariffs on other nations. It's been a long time since we even thought of that. We used to think about it a lot. We didn't think about it for many decades, and you see what's happened. For nations that treat us badly, we will calculate the combined rate of all their tariffs, non-monetary barriers, and other forms of cheating. And because we are being very kind, we're kind people, very kind. You're not so kind when you got ripped off with your salaries. My auto worker friends and my Teamster friends and all of the unions that typically voted Democrat, they're not voting Democrat anymore because worker, whether union or non-worker, they're for the Republicans now. That's what happened. But we will charge them approximately half of what they are and have been charging us. So the tariffs will be not a full reciprocal. I could have done that, yes, but it would have been tough for a lot of countries. We didn't want to do that. I'd like to see the chart if you have it. Could you bring it up, Howard? This is our great Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick. Thanks. So if you look at that, China, first row, China, 67%. That's tariffs charged to the USA, including currency manipulation and trade barriers. So 67%, I think you can, for the most part, see it. Those with good eyes, with bad eyes. We didn't want to bring, it's very windy out here. We didn't want to bring out the big charts because it had no chance of standing. Fortunately, we came armed with a little smaller chart. So 67%, so we're going to be charging a discounted reciprocal tariff of 34%. I think, in other words, they charge us, we charge them less. So how can anybody be upset? They will be because we never charge anybody anything, but now we're going to charge. European Union, they're very tough, very, very tough traders. You know, you think of the European Union, very friendly. They rip us off. It's so sad to see. It's so pathetic. 39%, we're going to charge them 20%, so we're charging them essentially half. Vietnam, great negotiators, great people. They like me, I like them. The problem is they charge us 90%. We're going to charge them 46% tariff. Taiwan, where they took all of our computer chips and semiconductors.
It's not even reciprocal.
We used to be
it's
the
about
king,
half
right?
of what we're being charged.
Everything. We had all of it. Now we have almost none of it, except the biggest company is coming in. We're going to end up with almost 40%. Lee Zeldin's working to get their approvals. And it's an amazing company. Mr. Wei, of one of the great companies of the world, actually. They're coming in from Taiwan, and they're going to build one of the biggest plants in the world, maybe the biggest for that. But 64%, we're going to charge them 32%. Japan, very, very tough, great people. And again, I don't blame the people for doing it. I think they're very smart in doing it. I blame the people that sat right in that Oval Office right over there. right behind the Resolute desk or whichever desk they chose. Japan, 46%. They would charge us 46% and much higher for certain items like cars, you know, little items like cars. 46%, we're charging them 24%. India, very, very tough, very, very tough. The prime minister just left, and he's a great friend of mine, but I said, you're a friend of mine, but you're not treating us right. They charge us 52%. You have to understand, we charge them almost nothing for years and years and decades, and it was only 7 years ago when I came in, we started with China and charged them. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China in tariffs, and they understood, honestly. President Xi understood. He said, look, I understand, and the other countries, and they all understand. We're going to have to go through a little tough love, maybe, but they all understand. They're ripping us off, and they understood it. Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe. He was a fantastic man. He was unfortunately taken from us, assassination. But I went to him and I said, Shinzo, we have to do something. A trade is not fair. And he said, I know that. I know that. And he was a great gentleman. He was a fantastic man. But he understood immediately what I was talking about. I said, Shinzo, we have to do something. He said, I know that. And we worked out a deal, and it would have been a much better deal. But frankly, there were many years left on the deal that was made previous to my getting there. But it was something. If you look at Switzerland, 61% to 31%. Indonesia, Malaysia, Cambodia. Oh, look at Cambodia, 97%. We're going to bring it down to 49%. They made a fortune with the United States of America. United Kingdom, 10%, and we'll go 10%. So we'll do the same thing. South Africa, 60%, 30%, and they've got some bad things going on in South Africa. You know, we're paying them billions of dollars, and we cut the funding because a lot of bad things are happening in South Africa. The fake news ought to be looking at it. They don't want to report it. Brazil, 10%, 10%. Bangladesh is 74%. So you see what's going on. Pakistan, 58%. Sri Lanka, 88%. So what we're doing is we're taking not the full, we could take the full 88%. Thanks a lot. He's doing a very good job. How's he doing, all right? I think you better take it with you. It's not going to last very long. He's going to put it, it's going to follow you down with the wind. I brought a hat just in case it got too windy, but here, would anybody like a hat? I'm not giving it to a cabinet. I'm giving it to the auto workers. Come here.
Tariffs are effectively half of what we're being charged.
That's it.
So if somebody's charging us 50, we're charging them 25.
They deserve it more than our cabinet. Our cabinet has plenty of hats. But you see the numbers. The numbers are so disproportionate. They're so unfair. At the same time, we will establish a minimum baseline tariff of 10%. You notice that on the chart? And that'll be on other countries to help rebuild our economy and to prevent cheating. So we're going to have a minimum of cheating, and we're going to be very severe on the people that at the gate that watch the tariffs and watch the product coming in, because there's been a lot of bad things happening at the gate because the money is so enormous that you're talking about. There's never been probably anything like it in terms of the enormity. And there are a lot of bad things happen at the people that do the check-in, and they're looking at 10-year jail sentences if they do play. We're going to treat them so good, but if they cheat, the repercussions are going to be extremely strong. Foreign nations will finally be asked to pay for the privilege of access to our market, the biggest market in the world. We're right now the biggest market in the world. We had a great country 4 years ago in terms of the economics. We were doubling up on China. We were doing so well. Nobody was going to catch us, but so much of it slipped away over the last 4 years under Biden. I campaigned on this policy throughout last year, and today that promise was made, and it was also a promise, as you know, that was kept. Promises made, promises kept. Any company that objects to our common sense reciprocal tariffs, again, reciprocal, back and forth, and I call this kind reciprocal. This is not full reciprocal. This is kind reciprocal. But what we do is we cut it in half. We charge them. My answer is very simple. If they complain, if you want your tariff rate to be zero, then you build your product right here in America, because there is no tariff if you build your plant, your product in America. And we've seen companies coming in like we've never seen before. Likewise to all of the foreign presidents, prime ministers, kings, queens, ambassadors, and everyone else who will soon be calling to ask for exemptions from these tariffs. I say, terminate your own tariffs, drop your barriers, don't manipulate your currencies. They manipulate their currencies like nobody can even believe, which is a bad, bad thing and very devastating to us. And start buying tens of billions of dollars of American goods. Tariffs give our country protection against those that would do us economic harm. And many people were looking to do us economic harm. Maybe not so obviously, but they were doing tremendous economic harm. But even more importantly, they will give us growth. These tariffs are going to give us growth like you haven't seen before. And it'll be something very special to watch. I am so looking forward. And Brian, it's going to happen even faster than you said. You know, you might say, but it's already started. It's already started. Work's already begun on plants all around the country. And you see that it's before. These are big, rich companies. We have $61 billion started on a big plant going up. It's going to be announced over the next 2 days. And they already started work. Many of these the biggest companies in the world, they've committed to build. We're going to build, sir. And they came here to see me, and wanted to know if they could have a press conference. I do as many as I can. I'm pretty busy trying to stop Russia and Ukraine and the Middle East. We got to stop that. We got to stop the Houthis, which we're making tremendous. They like shooting ships down and out of the water, sinking ships. They get a kick out of it, but they're not getting such a kick out of it now, are they, Mr. Secretary? They're not getting such a kick out of that now. But here are just a short list of some of the companies that have already announced and committed to investment. And this is a company that built its factories and its plants in China. Apple is going to spend $500 billion. They never spent money like that here. They're going to build their plants here. SoftBank, OpenAI, and Oracle, great companies, are investing $500 billion almost immediately. NVIDIA, a hot company, is investing hundreds of billions of dollars. They just announced. TSMC, the biggest, most important company in the world of chips from Taiwan, with no investment from us, is investing $200 billion. And they said the reason was, number one, the election of November 5th, and number two, the tariffs. They don't want to pay the tariffs, and the way they're not paying it is to build their plant here. So we're going to go from almost no percentage. We used to have 100% of the chip market. Now it's all in Taiwan. Almost all of it's in Taiwan, a couple of other countries, but mostly in Taiwan. And think of it, we had 100%. We lost it because of people in that office that didn't do their job. They allowed it to be stolen from us. Johnson & Johnson, great company, $55 billion. Eli Lilly, $27 billion. Meta is investing $500 billion. Wow. The Mac is investing $20 billion. CMA, CGM, $20 billion. And then you have Merck and Clarios, Stellantis, General Motors, GE Aerospace, Honda, Nissan, Hyundai are all putting in billions and billions of dollars, and they're committed 100%. So, and we've never had, and this is after 2.5 months. This is after just a short, this all took place as soon as we came out with what everybody wanted to do. You know, I watched a gentleman today on television, used to work with Lee Iacocca, a very respected automobile person, and he said, you know, because they're asking people, and they try and get as many negative people as they can, but they can't find them too much. It's pretty hard to find in terms of what we're doing, especially when they see all this investment. They said, so tell me, what do you think of what Trump is doing from the automobile standpoint? He said, I can't believe it. Somebody is finally, he's an older guy, real pro, really top guy, with Lee Iacocca. He said, I never thought I'd see the day when this would happen. where somebody had the courage to go and do what has to be done. This is transforming our nation. Our entire nation is going to be transformed, not only with the cars, but on every single other item that's built. We're going to become an industrial powerhouse. And he said that so
I want to make one quick point while he's going on.
Find out.
Think about the M2 money supply and how that's likely going to be affecting the crypto markets.
You're going to play it for the people and all your union workers and your non-union workers.
Add to that
even split
revenue coming in from these reciprocal tariffs
we have,
and what that means for the overall markets.
We're going to have about $6 trillion.
It's not going to happen right now. This is all, honestly, I think a lot of what's happening with the prices right now, it's all coordinated bullshit.
$6 trillion, and that's going to be much higher by the end of the year.
But wait until May.
And think of what $6 trillion is. You wouldn't have even a small percentage of that under this other system. We're going to be an entirely different country, and it's going to be fantastic for the workers. It's going to be fantastic for everyone. There will never have been a transformation of a country like the transformation that's already happening in the United States of America. It's an incredible thing to watch, and it's incredible to meet with the top people, people that you read about, very wealthy people, or people that are great managers and executives and presidents of big public companies. And to watch the enthusiasm they have now that they didn't have. They gave up on our country. They went to foreign countries and they built. Companies are pouring into our country at levels never seen before with jobs and money to follow. And it's
if Elon's trying to cut $1 trillion a year out of spending.
Complaints from the globalists and the outsourcers and special interests.
Trump is trying to make $1 trillion a year with tariffs and gold cards.
But never forget, every prediction our opponents made about trade for the last 30 years has been proven totally wrong. They were wrong about NAFTA. They were wrong about China. They were wrong about the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which would have been a disaster if I didn't terminate it. If I didn't terminate that, United Auto Workers, you would have had no jobs in this country. You would have had no jobs.
That's true.
It was all going to other countries. In my first term, they said tariffs would crash the economy. Instead, we built the greatest economy in the history of the world. And again, I have great respect for President Xi of China, great respect
for China. People can talk trash about billionaires
they were
and their
taking
taxes.
Tremendous advantage.
How many people do those billionaires employ that are paying taxes as well?
If you can get away with it,
and billionaires that don't pay taxes are typically because of the expenses to operate their businesses, and a lot of their billionaire status is evolving around their stock options that they hold, not liquid cash in their bank account.
You know, it's like. I say to the leaders, look, you got to take care of your country, but we have to start taking care of our country now. We can't do what we've been doing for the last 50 years. From the day of my election, the stock market went up in my first term 88%, with NASDAQ going up 155%, more than any president has ever had in any term in office, by far. And I think we're going to blow that away. And maybe the numbers won't show, but I think they're going to show much better than even those numbers. But what you're going to see is you're going to see activity, that empty, dead sites, factories that are falling down. Those factories will be knocked down, and they're going to have brand new factories built in their place. They're not only talking about renovating, they're talking about brand new, the best anywhere in the world, the biggest anywhere in the world. I have a friend who builds car plants, and I said, I want to see the biggest and the best. He said, well, we have to go to Mexico. I said, no, I want to see it in the United States. He said, we're not building them in there. This is a year and a half ago during the campaign. He said, we're not building it. You have to go to Mexico. When I was starting to decide to run, and I went to #1 in the polls very rapidly, I want to say, like,
you have the same loopholes
in the first hour
as any of these billionaires.
And then shortly thereafter, it looked like
if you're operating without an LLC or an S corp or something like that, where you're writing off your expenses, you're not doing it right.
Been in trouble because nobody wants to read them anyway. But I tell you what, when it looked like I was going to win, I announced that I was going to be doing exactly what we're talking about today. Great consistency, actually, because I've been talking about it for 40 years. But because I saw what was happening 40 years ago. If you look at my old speeches when I was young, very handsome, my old speeches, and then people would say, I'd be on a television show, I'd be talking about how we were being ripped off by these countries. I mean, nothing changes very much. The only thing that changed were the countries, but nothing really changes. But it's why it's such an honor. It's such an honor to be finally able to do this. if you look at China, I took in hundreds of billions of dollars in my term, hundreds of billions. They never paid 10 cents to any other president, and yet they paid hundreds of billions, so much so that Biden couldn't do anything. They wanted to try and terminate it because he had a very special relationship with China. You know what the relationship was? He had a special relationship. But the numbers were so big, that they couldn't do it. So they did ease it up. They did things that they shouldn't have done. They made it a lot more comfortable for them, but they couldn't do it because the numbers were hundreds of billions of dollars, and I did that. And we were on our way to doing something like incredible. And then we had a very bad election happen, a very bad election. A lot of bad things happened. So when I said we got to do it again, I said we have to make it too big to rig. And we made it too big to rig, and we won in records, and it was a monumental win. And it was such an honor to see so many of you, like Brian and your friends, here with us to celebrate and to, more importantly, celebrate what we're doing, because that wouldn't be a full celebration if we didn't do this, because this will be an entirely different country in a short period of time. It'll be something the whole world will be talking about it. The critics made the very tired predictions earlier this year, but in February, core inflation dropped to the lowest rate in 4 years. And the price of eggs, as you know, just in a month and a half, we were there for 4 weeks. And the first week, I got blamed for eggs. I said, I just got here. They said eggs have gone up at like 250%, and you can't get eggs. And we're going crazy. And I said, I just got here. And then we got to work on eggs, and we got to work on everything. And our great Secretary of Agriculture, you did a fantastic job. Brooke Rollins, she did a fantastic job. And as I said before, the price of eggs dropped now 59%, and they're going down more, and the availability is fantastic. They were saying that for Easter, please don't use eggs. Could you use plastic eggs? I said, we don't want to do that. We want to, and you really came through. It's an amazing job. Thank you very much, Brooke. You did great. But likewise, an old-fashioned term that we use, groceries.
Nobody's here expecting Cardano to go to $1.
It's such an old-fashioned term, but a beautiful term, groceries. It sort of says a bag with different things in it. Groceries went through the roof, and I campaigned on that. I talked about the word groceries for a lot. And energy costs now are down, groceries are down, gasoline is way under $3, and people are beginning to be able to buy things and live again. We brought prices.
We had a 5-minute candle that pumped like crazy, and now everything's
already in a few weeks. New manufacturing jobs, and it was that took place in 1 month. Numbers that they haven't seen in a long time. We had virtually no inflation under my term. We had virtually no inflation for 4 years. But after transitioning over to Sleepy Joe, it went from almost non-existent to the highest in the history of our country. They're the highest inflation in the history of our country, brought up by energy and bad spending and bad policy, and a lot of bad things happened. How about allowing millions and millions and millions of people to pour into our country with open borders, where it's so sad to see even now. And I see our great secretary.
Definitely a lot of short-sightedness in the chat.
Stand up, please, Christy. Stand up. Christy Noem. And Tom Homan.
I ramble like this in my job, and I just get viewers.
People are doing a great job, but gotten them out in records. And we have problems with judges that don't want them to go out. They want Tren de Araqua. And they want
Aaron, that was
MS-13,
my
the most vicious gangs ever.
teacher.
Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Absolute killer gangs. They kill people. They don't even think about it. And we put them out, and we have judges now, radical left judges that they don't want them to go out. They want them to even be brought back. Let's bring them back. You've done a fantastic job, and please thank everybody. Homeland Security, thank everybody. Appreciate it. And we now have a border that's the best border that we've ever had, even better than it was my first term. My first term we did good, but this one we really specialized in. We've done really well. And we had records then. We had the best, safest border. 4 years ago, we had the best border there ever was. And now we have, you've actually matched it and done even better. And we're going to get it down the right way. And we want people, by the way, to come into our country, but we want the to come in through a legal process. We want them to come in legally. We need more people. We need people to run these plants and to help the auto workers and the Teamsters and the non-union people and everybody else. But we need people and the farmers.
Well, thank you.
And we're going to let people come in, but they want to come in. We want them to come in legally. They have to have the capability of loving our country, not people that hate our country. We don't want them in our country. And now we're going to pass the largest tax cuts in American history, and that's where we're relying on Mike and John Thune. And we will not cut Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid benefits, and the Democrats will, because if they got in, the entire economy would collapse. This country is heading for a collapse under the people that you saw. They were horrible. I think one of the reasons people like the job, I have my highest approval ratings because I think they're comparing me to the worst administration in the history of our country, so I appreciate that at least. But Speaker of the House Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader, appreciate it, Mike. John Thune have been fantastic, by the way. But they've been working tirelessly on taking the next step to pass the plan for our one big, beautiful bill. I'd like to name it that if you can. One big, I made that statement about 6 months ago, and everybody calls it one big, beautiful bill. And it will be that. It'll have everything, the big tax cuts and every incentive there is, and it'll be fantastic. And by the way, for the cars, we're asking for an interest deduction on a loan. So if you build the car only in America, we do it, Brian. If the car's not built in America, you don't get the interest rate deduction. But if you build the car in America, if you buy a car, if it's built in America, then you get an interest rate deduction, tax deduction, and that's a big thing. That's going to be a big thing. I think that's going to pay for itself very quickly, that deduction. Never happened. We've never had anything like that before. Somebody said, where do you get the idea? Because it's so basic. You would think that would have happened a long time ago. It never did, and I'm very happy it didn't, because now I can say that was my idea. But we're going to get us closer to the debt extension. We have to get the debt extension passed, and I know you're going to be able to do that, Mike, and it's very important that you do that. And all of the other things that the Senate budget plan gives us, along with working, because I know they're working together, John and Mike, and the two bills are going very well together. We need to get our shared priorities done, including certain permanent tax cuts. We want the tax cuts to be permanent, spending cuts, energy and historic investments in defense, border, and so much more. We're covering everything. These will be phenomenal. There'll be no bill like this going to straighten. One bill is going to straighten out our country for many, many years to come. And we said, let's just do it and let's get it done. And some guys will love it, and some guys will like it a little bit less because they're not getting what they were exactly looking for, but they're getting a lot. They'll never, if we get this done, it'll be the most incredible bill ever passed in the history of our Congress and Senate and congressmen, the senators and the congressmen, many of whom are here today, will be very proud of themselves. I really believe that it's going to set us on a whole new prosperous path. We're going to cut spending and right-size the budget back to where it should be. We're going to do that very strongly. Thank you, Rick. Thank you. John, thank you. Oh, look at all of our senators over there. Oh, boy. That's a nice group of people. But I won't like them so much if they don't get this bill done. That's a great group. And, Congressman, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Tremendous people. The Senate plan is my complete and total support, and the House plan likewise is very similar. They're moving along pretty much at the same clip, and as soon as you're ready, you'll show it to me, and I'm sure it'll have my support, Mike. Every Republican congressman and senator must unify. We have to unify. We can't be separated. We have to get it done. We have to get absolutely everything we can, and we have to take care of the American people. That's the only thing that matters. We have to take care of the American people first. We need to pass this bill immediately, get it done, including debt extension. From this day on, we're not going to let anyone tell us that American workers and families cannot have the future that they deserve. We're going to produce the cars and ships, chips, airplanes, minerals, and medicines that we need right here in America, the pharmaceutical companies are going to become roaring back. They're coming roaring back. They're all coming back to our country, because if they don't, they got a big tax to pay. And if they do, I'll be very happy, and you're going to be very happy, and you're going to be very safe. We're going to build our future with American hands, with American heart, American steel, and we're going to build it with American pride like we used to. We're approaching our 100th day as president, and have been given credit by a lot of people, actually, even some of the fake news. Can you believe it? Which in this case, hopefully, isn't fake, for having done more in that time than any other administration in the history of our country in the first 100 days. I think we've had an amazing, in terms of what we've done, what we've gotten accomplished. I'd like to see if we can get that war ended and another war from not starting in the Middle East. We have to get Russia. They're losing 2,000 on average, 2,500 people today, young people, soldiers, Russian. Think of that, 2,500 through some days, but on average, probably over about a 1 week period, it's 2,712, they say. They're losing those soldiers. They're dying. They're being decimated. And they're not from our country, but they're from other countries, but they're human beings. They're from Russia. They're from Ukraine in this period, most of them. And we're going to get it stopped. It's a senseless war that would have never happened if I was president, and it shouldn't be allowed to go on. And I think we're being given good cooperation by Russia and by Ukraine, but we have to get it stopped. It's humanity. It's humanity. It's a terrible thing. This will be a very big moment. I think you're going to remember today. It's going to be
has been listed on
free nation that we're dealing with. We're going to have a very free and beautiful nation. It's going to be Liberation Day in America, and it's going to be a day that hopefully you're going to look back in years to come and you're going to say, you know, he was right. This has turned out to be one of the most important days in the history of our country. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. So there you have it. Big pump and dump event is typical when Trump speaks. Yes, he does go on and on. I wish his speeches could be cut in half, but some people could say the same thing about me. And you know, here's the thing. I see a lot of short-sightedness in the chat. I see some people that they could be bots. I don't know, because it seems to be the same sentiment. And you know, the reality is, like Trump said, he's barely been in for 100 days. And it's like everything bad is being credited to him in his 100 days, and then everything good is being credited to someone else. None of it makes any sense. And I know the plan. I know what they're trying to do. And I know that they're trying to basically balance the budget. And he's got Elon doing his part with Doge, trying to find all the wasteful spending and the fraud and everything, and try and cut that out while Trump is trying to improve the revenue that the country is getting through these tariffs, offsetting the expenses that's going out. And if he could cut that, or stab between that and like the gold cards at $5 million a pop, where I guess they've already sold like 1,000 of them, maybe more by now. If they can come up with $2 trillion a year or whatever to basically balance that budget, I know their intention is to cut taxes. And in the midst of all of that, you know, establishing the crypto market for what it is and what it's supposed to be. Listen, I know that there is some, I don't even know if I want to call it manipulation, but I think that there is some intentional price activity. I mean, I'm just going to say this. I know that the left loves to complain and talk about, you know, tax the rich and the billionaires and down with the billionaires and all that. The majority of the left are billionaires. Like the majority of the billionaires out there are on the left, just so you know. All of that is a smokescreen. Like, it's all BS. And I know that a lot of these folks have the capital to move the markets like this if they want to. Every time Trump speaks, make it a thing. Every time Trump talks, you crash the crypto market. And the reason, and I think that's a part of why they do this after markets close, like traditional markets close. But at the same time, I believe a lot of it is short-sighted. And at the same time, this could even be people on the right doing this. if I'm honest. This could be people on the right saying, we know what's coming. Let's make it a thing. Every time Trump says something, let's dump those markets and like reaccumulate and accumulate more and get more. You know, I mean, it's like, who knows why they're doing this, but it's obvious a thing. And I don't believe that this is just the markets reacting, because if the markets were reacting, I don't think it takes a lot of sense to understand what's being done, both in crypto regulation, the crypto markets, traditional markets, you know, the tariffs, all of that. It doesn't take a rocket scientist. What it does, and what I see a lot of, is, you know, there are a lot of people who don't seem to understand what this is all about and like what it means for the country. Think about it. And I wish he would have done a tally as the total number, like how much money in business he's already brought into the country. Companies that have already said, we're going to build a $200 billion factory. We're going to build a $500 billion factory. We're going to invest in this technology in the U.S. to the tune of $500 billion, et cetera, et cetera. And that's been stacking up. But we're not going to see the fruits of that overnight. And so, what we are going to see is we're going to see a lot of jobs coming back to the U.S. The left doesn't want that. I'm sorry, but they don't. The left does not want a lot of this stuff, because the better the country is doing and the better the people in the country are doing, the less we have to look towards government to help us. And that is what they want. They want us going to them saying, give me my check, give me my free money. Yes, I'll keep my mouth shut. Yes, you could do whatever you want as long as I'm getting this. That is the way I look at the left today. Just, you know, they want to be able to run rampant with whatever they want, whatever their agendas are, and have no accountability with anybody whatsoever, especially the voters, the deplorables, the people, the consumers, the people that don't amount to anything and are worthless. And in fact, we'd love for you to, you know, like we need to cut the population. All right. We need to get this population down to bearable levels. I mean, these are all talking points that we see all the time, and it's freaky, man. But I'm looking at things from a perspective of, I know things are going to get better. It's just not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a little time. But when they do, I believe the turnaround is going to be astronomical. That's what I think. I mean, we saw this just in a handful of minutes. You can see how volatile the markets are. And, you know, oh, Trump speaking. Listen, we're still at almost 68 cents. These moves are on 5-minute candles. Like, this isn't anything crazy. Let's see what happens over the weekend. Let's see what happens Friday. I think Friday is going to be a much bigger deal than Trump talking about these tariffs. If Jerome Powell says we're going to cut rates, or, you know, says basically anything favorable, I think we're going to see a rate cut, and that rate cut and the end of quantitative tightening, I think, is going to turn this market around quicker than the results of a lot of these tariffs. So listen, we just have to be patient. And in the meantime, you know, the folks, I haven't been seeing a lot of like back and forth, people going at each other, excuse me. And I appreciate that. I don't mind people having a difference of opinion, especially in my chat. Okay. Literally, that's what makes the world go round. I'm cool with that. The only time I draw a straw or I say, okay, that's enough, is if people start getting directly insulting to other people. That's not cool. And we have to stop that shit. Just because somebody differs in opinion to you, it does not make them stupid. It does not make them ignorant. It could make them ignorant. I mean, honestly, that's basically what ignorance is just not knowing, right? And so, but we have to stop with this back and forth arguing, the name calling, the personal insults. Listen, if you stand on a line, if you stand on business, but your belief system is very easily debunked or disproven with factual information, and that enrages you, take a breath. Take a breath, and all I can say is find out why. That's it. Find out why. Don't just brush off somebody else's perspective. And I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. Don't just brush it off and move the goalpost and say, oh, well, whatever. But what about this? And then what about that? And you're just always trying to look for that gotcha moment so that you can feel proud of yourself. Listen, if you have to do that, chances are your beliefs are flimsy, or they're established on flimsy ideas or nonsensical everything. Like, let's just calm down and stop attacking one another and start figuring out what makes each other tick. And I say this with reason. each and every one of us that utilizes social media to get information as to what's going on in the world, or how do we believe this? What do we think about that? What's this issue? What's that issue? It's all part of an algorithm. And these algorithms know what we want to see and what we want to hear. And it's very easy to get caught up in that. And when we have groups of friends that are also sharing in the same algorithm, it's very easy to get this confirmation bias. Well, I believe this crazy nonsensical bullshit, but because my algorithm tells me that's okay and all my friends think the same way, we must be right. You're an idiot if you believe otherwise. Folks, the sooner we can realize that we're all being played, each and every one of us, the sooner we realize we're all being played as ignorant pawns and we're doing exactly what it is we're supposed to do, the sooner we can start coming together and actually talking things out. We really do have to start figuring out how to get along. And, you know, you can feel what you want about somebody and like in terms of like their personality. I don't like that person's energy. I'm like that. I mean, it could be a good person, a cool dude or cool whoever. But if I don't feel their energy, man, I don't want to be around them. I don't necessarily have to agree or disagree with what they believe or think. And that's okay. But I also don't need to sit around calling them names or like insulting them because they're just not my people. To each their own. Listen, I'll see you guys Friday when Jerome Powell starts talking. And until